Neil Haley Show. I'm with best-selling author Grace Lynx Jenkins. Site, and I know last week we brought up the best-selling author. It's got to feel great, and you have the cover to show us today.
Yes, I do. He's right here. We are still working on a publishing issue that we found, but it will be fixed very, very soon. Once that's done, paperback will be good to release. So you won't get to your hands on this particular one, but his friends will be out there for sale, and they would be very excited.
Fantastic! I'm excited for you, and today you have a topic for us.
Yes. So, as an author, I actually really enjoy writing about the psychological aspects of things. I mean, I'm a psychology major, that's just what I do. And a lot of my books are very character focused. And that was something that I thought was very interesting to see for me personally, because you do have some authors who are a little bit more plot focused. And that's where you kind of get into your high fantasy, where they've got these giant convoluted plots sometimes, but their characters, you don't really go into as much depth with them. And then you have your character focused books, which are very much focusing on a smaller cast, but the cast that you get, the characters are more often focused on, more developed. You go into more depth, and you tend to follow at least one character throughout your journey, so you get to watch them slowly grow. And it's focused more on that psychological growth that the character has more than the actual big event of what's going on.
Yeah, and I get it in so many ways. The whole thought process in psychology, and to think about a character is what they're thinking. I think the study of the mind is such an amazing thing because it really makes sense in the world is how we think.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times the psychiatrists or psychologists or anyone talking about the study of the mind, how powerful it is. And sometimes I don't think psychologists or psychiatrists talk about this, how we can get in the way of our whole life through our mind, and that could keep us from going to where we need to go. And it does, and then certain things will go wrong too because of our mind. And it's cycle. We always use it psychological. Define that in more ways. I think that's what you're talking about in these characters. Why they fall into the traps they fall into is purely psychological, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of the times, and this is very common, this is called rumination. So you'll have negative thoughts one day, and then, especially if you're dealing with something like anxiety or depression, these thoughts, they start to repeat themselves. And
Yeah.
it's like they're on a loop and you can't get rid of it. They just come automatically. And so what they teach you in therapy is coping skills so that you can actually stop ruminating as much, and so that you're able to focus on the here and now and on doing what you need or what you want to do. So, a huge part of rumination is that it will sometimes keep us from doing the things that we want to do. I know in my case, it was always, I'm never going to be good enough. I'm never going to publish this book. It's going to suck. All of these different things that go through your head, but you got to just do it.
But isn't it true if we start saying it's going to suck, it's going to suck? If I say I'm not going to get the sale, I'm not going to get the sale 98% of the time. There might
Yeah.
be times where, oh, they're not going to do it and they do it. And that's more of a worry that our body actions went through it. We thought it would happen. Then later we start saying, I guess not. And that sometimes turns right, but not much compared to really having a positive outlook on everything.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily that you have to be super joyous about it all the time, because every single author is going to look at their work and go, "Oh my gosh, I hate this. This is horrible. What did I just create?" But you have to remember it's okay. Even if your first draft is very rough, you can still feel proud knowing that you wrote your first draft, And then you can go through the editing process and fix the stuff that you don't necessarily like, or maybe improve the stuff where you can make it sound even better and be even more appealing. It's all about not giving up, essentially. I know throughout my journey, it has not always been very positive. Of course, I tend to be more toward the, oh, this isn't going to work, skeptical side of things.
Oh, did you see that that when you have that thought process, you do get in the way because you have that the glass is half full instead of half empty
A little bit, yeah. It's kind of, you're trying to protect yourself from,
from being disappointed.
yeah, exactly. It's like if something's
I
going
was my
to
That's
happen,
what I went through my life till a certain point, and I said, nope, no
yeah,
longer. I'm going to have that dreaming aspect, and I'm also going to have that grounding aspect, but never again I'm going to go that route. I'm
yeah.
always going to expect things to go right.
Mhm.
I have something right now. Everything always works out for me is one of my mantras, and I truly believe it. And some people could say it's the law of attraction, or no, it's ultimately if you can believe. If people would always say everything always works out for me in the long run, if you have that saying, you see a lot of people with that outlook that usually does always work out for them.
Well, the thing is, you also have to temper it with hard work. That's what a lot of people don't understand. So go to these companies.
Right. You can't just go and think for that BMW right now. It's going to show up in your driveway. You got to be putting a lot of work in.
Oh
I
yeah,
agree with you on that one.
yeah, you got to be, if you're an author, you got to be sitting there thinking about your book, consistently writing on your book. And sometimes you're not going to get but a sentence one day. And then other days you might get like 3 chapters. And that's okay as long
Right.
as you continue to work on it. And then eventually, once you get into the flow of things and you figure out what motivates you better, that will also probably allow the process to be even quicker next time. Like I probably won't struggle as much to write my next novel as I did on this one. Even though this one was fun to write, I did have a good time with this one.
But you're young too. So the thing is, if you can slowly but surely turn that around. So how we got into this is funny because I think that this is a great conversation. This is where you look at each one of the characters. Their ruminations,
Oh yeah.
like Noah, mess up their lives.
Oh
And
yeah.
people who ruminate all the time really and define so rumination is constantly on your mind that things are not going to work out. You're always worrying about the next thing that's going to happen, and you don't live in the present like just now.
Yeah, pretty much. That is exactly what rumination is. Textbook rumination is negative thoughts that eventually just run on autoplay in your head over and over again.
That's your subconscious. Do you guys teach about the subconscious too or not?
We do a little bit. That's where you kind of get into your more Freudian style of thinking, though that's not as popular among psychologists anymore, at least as far as when I was going through college. We kind of learned about Freud, but we focused more on things like cognitive behavioral
Mm.
therapy and exploring that side of things. Freudian psychology has kind of fallen from grace a little bit over the years. It's just there are still some good ideas in there. It's just that if you've ever read Freud, you know that it's very weird and it doesn't necessarily match up completely with how people work.
Okay. All right. So this is great. Great conversation. I'm enjoying this one. So the way you write is through a psychological lens, and you don't think a lot of writers do that, right? You're different in that way.
Yeah, I do think that it depends on the kind of author that you are. I know here lately a lot more authors have been getting into a more character driven approach where, like me, they're more focused on making the character relatable and on what this character is doing. That's how you'll get books where if you took the plot and you zoomed out externally, you might not see a whole lot going on. But if you go inside of your character's thoughts and feelings, then that's where you have your story. So it really all does depend on the author. But a lot of times, what I have seen are that there are authors who enjoy writing from the character perspective, and you can see this in a lot of historical authors as well. Faulkner, William Faulkner, his works were very
Mm,
character driven, very much stream of consciousness. So it would be confusing at times to read because you're going through the exact stream of consciousness of the character. But those are the types of authors that I tend to think of when I think of historical authors, what I expect in a character driven story.
okay. All right. Best place to go is Grace Lynx Jenkins.com. Appreciate it, Grace. And make sure you write a 5-star Amazon review after you get a chance to read the book. Really appreciate it, guys, and look forward to another conversation with you, Grace.
Thank you.
All right. You're listening and watching The Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.